with exceptional female leaders working in the future of aviation and aerospace to help inspire more women to consider this sector for their own careers. Becky, you're Chief Marketing Officer at Wisk, which is one of the world's leading air taxi pioneers. It's great to meet you. How are you today?
It's wonderful to meet you too, Joanne. I am feeling fantastic. It's Monday. It's going to be a good week, and next week is a holiday here in the States. So looking forward to the holiday season.
Oh, fantastic. First of all, can you tell me a little bit about Wisk? How did the business come to be?
Yeah, I am happy to share more about Wisk. It's really interesting. So the idea started about 12 years ago to consider designing and certifying an aircraft that vertically takes off and lands but flies like a plane without a pilot, to really allow people to gain time back in their lives. So to skip traffic and move more freely around congested urban areas. And so there was a really exceptional group of people brought together under Larry Page, who was one of the founders of Google, who started playing with this idea and then became successful with this idea. And fast forward years down the road, the company had tested and flown multiple generations of different aircraft. And then the Boeing company started getting really curious in this potential future market and started really diving in deep and talking to many different companies who were also exploring this type of aircraft. And then they came across the company in which Cora, the current prototype, was already flying successfully almost every single day. They saw the commercial potential in this aircraft and in the people who were behind this aircraft and formed a joint venture with Kitty Hawk. And that is how Wisk, the company I work at today, emerged. And so the joint venture was formed in June 2019 between the Boeing company and Kitty Hawk. And now we're about 500 people. And we've recently introduced our 6th generation aircraft, which is the aircraft we will go through FAA certification and ultimately bring to the US market and other global markets as well.
Incredible stuff. And you sound so knowledgeable, but you haven't always worked in this space. Could you tell me a little bit about your own backgrounds? How did your career begin?
Yeah, no, I look back on how my career started and where I am today. And it's so different, but also so connected and so helpful in enabling me to be where I am today. So really early on in my career, I started managing and, as a coordinator in very focused aspects of a marketing team. I quickly had the opportunity and I saw the value of rotating around and getting exposure into all of the different disciplines within a marketing organization, because it's really quite broad, right? There's PR and media, there's events, there's program management, there's lead management. There's so many different aspects. So I focused early on in my career in getting visibility and experience across the full spectrum. I then started moving up and taking on teams, ultimately working towards international and global experience and responsibilities, moving up in the ladder, and just really had wonderful opportunities to consistently be learning and growing. So I first started in the semiconductor industry, which for those of the familiar with that industry, it started here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I'm based. And so I really had a great opportunity to join that industry, and it allowed me to learn across all different end products, types of customers and equipments. So that brought me experience into the early days of mobility, to automotive, to large industrial controls, to medical devices. So I spent a lot of time building my career there, and then went into robotics and another autonomous tech company, spent time there, and then eventually came over to Wisk.
Incredible. And what is it that brought you to the future of aviation? What attracted you to join this mission?
Yeah. So honestly, the first thing that brought me here was Gary Geisen, our CEO at Wisk. He and I first crossed paths at the other autonomous technology company that I was at prior to this. And we just formed a really great, honest working relationship. And when he was considering coming over and taking the CEO opportunity, he asked me to join him. And at first I was a little resistant. I was really trying to, the first time ever, take a little bit of a break. But when he told me about what kind of work was going on and the type of people who were at the company, and then he asked if I would be interested in establishing and building an entirely new brand and a future market that was going to change the world. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, how can you say no to that? As a marketer, being able to establish a brand or to build a brand is really what it's all about. There's so much reward in doing that. And so that opportunity and the ability to come work on something that was going to challenge me and change the world was like, I really couldn't say no.
Yeah, I can see how it was an irresistible opportunity. And well done you for making that exciting leap.
Yes, thank you.
One thing that I've noticed recruiting in this industry is that there's quite a lot more men than women currently in this sector. I wondered, how do you feel as a female leader in this business?
Yeah, I knew that this was going to be a topic that we discussed today. So I told myself, be really open and honest. There are advantages and disadvantages. And it is very true that this industry has room for growth in attracting a more diverse talent pool, especially with females. So it's interesting for me to reflect on. I feel very fortunate to be at Wisk because we are implementing things that will help us increase the diversity at our own company. I also feel very fortunate to work with an executive team who really values my input and opinion, and they actively bring me into the conversation. So that is great. There are many times, though, I am the only female in the room, whether it's with people within my own company, partners, outside vendors, you name it. It is not common for me to be the only one there. And so I really sometimes have to prep myself. I have to prep myself in the sense of be who you are. Don't be anyone else. Bring yourself into the conversation. But what I found has been really important for me, quite honestly, along my entire career, is to find those male advocates that really see me and see my contribution and use them as those advocates and allies to help me learn and grow and to get that exposure. But it can be awkward. It can be uncomfortable. There are times where you just look around the room or you look back at a picture or you think about how that meeting went and it felt different and it felt more awkward. And it's really such a tremendous missed opportunity to not stop and think about the meeting or whatever you're doing to make sure you're proactively thinking through how can I make sure that I have all of the well-rounded inputs and thoughts and opinions that would benefit this company or project and help advocate for bringing those voices in. So I feel fortunate to be in that position. And sometimes I sit back and think, gosh, I wish there was more of us because that would only benefit me and everyone else.
Yes, for sure. And then I really like your experience and your insights around preparation and being your authentic self. I think that advice will really resonate with other females in your position or women who are thinking about their own careers. So I really appreciate you sharing that so openly.
Yeah, there was a recent example where I recognized that I was going to something that was really important and I was going to be the only female there. And I reflected on it. And I said something to one of my male colleagues, and he asked, do you still want to join? Do you still want to come? And my response was absolutely. So really seeing it through the positive lens. I think in telling yourself there's a reason you're here. Your voice and contribution matters. So that really strong, positive self-talk is so important for anyone, females and males, quite honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that you need to be a certain type of woman in order to be successful in male-dominated spaces?
You know, that's a really interesting question. And I spent some time reflecting on the female leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with over the last, 20 plus years. And I started to think about the women who stand out in my mind and what were some of the reasons why they stood out in my mind and in my memory. And I remember recognizing really early on that, so I've always worked in engineering driven companies, heavily more skewed towards the male population. But being in a marketing team, it is generally filled with many females. Actually, it has a lot of really wonderful diversity. But I started pretty early on recognizing that the female leaders did modify who they were to try and fit in more. I think that was far more common over 20 years ago than it has been in the last 10 years or so, but I still see it. And I recognized early on when I wasn't being me, I was uncomfortable. Then I would hesitate. Then I would trip up more, and I wasn't really being authentic to who I am. And therefore, I wasn't actually being my best. And so I remember watching, deciding a long time ago that you just have to be who you are. Take it or leave it. Everybody has strengths. Everybody certainly has weaknesses. And I've absolutely had those moments where I've reflected and been like, oh my God, did I really say that in that meeting? But, you just have to be who you are. And trying to meet everyone else where they are. Yes, you have to understand and you have to be able to communicate successfully with people, but you really have to be who you are. Don't transform yourself to try to fit in, because you're not fitting in with yourself when you try to do that, and it just doesn't work. So I recognized also that brought out behaviors in people that made me uncomfortable. So I saw women being more competitive, right, to fit in more and to rise above and to stand out. And that never felt good. It always actually kind of felt kind of rotten. So that political game or the competitiveness and just trying to transform yourself to just fit in more freely just didn't work for me. So I've always been who I am, and it's been hard at times because we all have self-doubt, and we all kind of question ourselves, and you just have to sort of lean into it. And I've been really focusing in on that in the last 10 years of my career. And I couldn't be more proud and more happy about doing that. And that's the same thing I would say to anyone else is be who you are. You will find the environment that you can be your best and be yourself. And so those things can coexist.
Yeah, that is such good advice. I know that nobody will get very far by by simply impersonating someone else. You really do have to be true to yourself, and we're all different, male or female, but actually it's your own uniqueness that makes you you. So I really appreciate that input. What would you say, finally, Becky, to other women who are looking at this really exciting sector, charting the future of air mobility and thinking about joining it themselves? Is there any advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, I would say please consider it. This industry will only be that much better, much more compelling, reach more audiences, be more innovative. All of those things come with attracting all types of talent to the company. So women should not hesitate. I never dreamed that I would be in aviation. I mean, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not an aviation driven industry here. And so I never, ever dreamed that I could be a part of it. I'm so thrilled to be a part of it because it really brings so much together. Not only is there the business side where you get to work with partners and other technology companies, but you get to think about the future customer. And there's just so much to learn and to try and to do. So I think the opportunities are really, really great. But I think in particular, coming into this industry, I mentioned finding that male advocate. It is what it is. It is still heavily more balanced on one side to the men in the industry, but there are so many wonderful men who want to be your champion and that they want to bring your voice out and they want to help you build your career and to shine. And so align yourself, find those people, talk to them, tell them, hey, did you notice that I may be the only one in this meeting? Let them recognize that and let them help kind of create the environments to bring your voice out. It's better for everyone. And I think it's just a great, great opportunity. So I would say to all women, come in the industry, join us. We need you. And also look for other ways to bring other women and other minorities in. It just takes one voice, one encouragement, one referral to help boost this entire industry, quite frankly. Like I said at Wisk, I feel super fortunate because the population really values this and ask my opinion. They ask the people on my team's opinion. And so you can really find those places where they bring you in.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm sure it will be incredibly valuable and inspiring to other women. So thank you so much.